Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Believe and Do It. I am Muhammad Arshadullah. In my channel, I will help you to get all those amazing insights through motivational inspiration tips, stories, and inviting guests to share their experience, and also to book reviews for helping you to know about the expertise view. So without any further delay, let's get started. Hello everyone. Now let us move on to chapter number 2 and part 2 of the book Developing the Leader Within You 2.0 by John C. Maxwell. Chapter 2 Priorities. Part 2 Priority Principles. Someone once said, an infant is born with a clenched fist. An adult dies with an open hand. Life has a way of prying free the things we think are so important. If you want to develop the leader within you, don't wait for tragedy to realign your priorities. Become proactive about the process starting today. Begin by acknowledging the following principles. Principle number 1. Working smarter has a higher return than working harder. Novelist Franz Kafka said, productivity is being able to do things that you were never able to do before. How do you make that happen? Doing the exact same things with greater intensity rarely works. As Albert Einstein allegedly pointed out that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. So how do you get better results? You have to rethink how you do something. You have to work smarter. That means finding better ways to work and making the most of the moments you have. Marketing expert Dan Kennedy says, disciplined use of the time everybody else wastes can give you the edge. What leader doesn't want that? Priority principle number 2. You can't have it all. When John Maxwell's son Joel was a young child, every time they entered a store, John Maxwell would tell to him, you can't have it all. Like many people, the child had a hard time narrowing his want list. Before John Maxwell believed that 90% of achieving anything is knowing what you want. That's especially important for someone who is leading others. Years ago, when the author John Maxwell read a story about a group of people who were preparing for an ascent to the top of Mont Blanc in the French Alps, the evening before the climb, the French guide explained the main prerequisite for success. He said, to reach the top, you must carry only what's necessary for climbing. You must leave behind all else. It's a very difficult climb. A young Englishman disregarded the expert's advice, and the next morning he showed up with a bunch of items in addition to his equipments. A brightly colored blanket, a large pieces of cheese, a bottle of wine, a couple of cameras with several lenses, and some bars of chocolates. You will never make it with all that, said the guide. You can only take the bare necessities to make the climb. But the Englishman was young and strong-willed. He set off on his own in front of the group to prove that he could do it. On the way up to the summit of Mont Blanc, the rest of the group, carrying only the necessities under the guide's direction, began to notice items along their path. First, there was a brightly colored blanket, then a bottle of wine and some pieces of cheese, camera equipment, and finally chocolate bars. When they reached the top, there was the Englishman. Wisely, he just jettisoned everything unnecessarily along the way and had made the summit. If you want to be a successful person as a leader, you must make choices. You must prioritize. You cannot have it all. No one can. Priority principle number 3. The good is always the enemy of the best. Most people can prioritize between the good and the bad or between right and wrong. The real challenge arises when they are faced with two good choices. Which should they choose? An excellent illustration of this can be found in the parable of lighthouse keeper who worked on a rocky stretch of coastline before the days of electricity. Once a month he received a supply of oil to keep the light burning. Not being far from town, he often had visitors. One night, an old woman from the village begged for some oil to keep her family warm. He had pity on her and gave her oil. Another time, a father asked for some oil for his lamp so that he could search for his missing son. Another person needed some oil to keep machinery going so that he and his employees could keep working. Each request was good, and each time the lighthouse keeper gave them oil for their worthy cause. Toward the end of the month, he noticed the supply of oil was very low. By the last night of the month, it was gone. The beacon went out. That night in a storm, a ship wrecked on the rocks and lives were lost. When the authorities investigated, the man was very repentant, but there was only one reply. You were given oil for one purpose, to keep that light burning. As you become more successful and busier, you must learn to navigate the choice between the two good things. You can't always have both. How do you choose? Remember that the good must sometimes be sacrificed for the best. Priority principle number 4. Proactive beats reactive. Every person is either an initiator or a reactor when it comes to planning. In my opinion, which the author says that you can choose or you can lose. Proactive means choosing. Reactive means losing. The question isn't, will I have things to do, but will I do things that make a difference? To be an effective leader, you need to be proactive. Take a look at the difference between initiators and reactors. Here are some examples which I'll give you now. Initiator says, prepare. Reactor says, repair. Initiator says, plan ahead. Reactor says, live in the moment. Initiator says, seize the moment. Reactor says, wait for the right moment. Initiator says, invest time in people. Reactor says, spend time with people. If you have any doubt about the impact of initiating versus reacting on your productivity, just think about the week before you go on vacation. It's probably your most productive and efficient time at work. Why? Because you have clear priorities and a hard deadline. Before leaving the office for vacation, we need to make decisions, finish projects, clean off the desk, return calls, and close the loop with colleagues. Why can't we always run our lives that way? Actually, we can, but it requires a change in mindset. Instead of focusing on efficiency, which is a survival mindset, we need to think about effectiveness, which is a success mindset. Instead of focusing on doing things right, we need to focus on doing only the right things. We need to become fervently and continuously proactive. Priority principle number 5. The important needs to take precedence over the urgent. The more responsibility you carry as a leader, the more you have on your plate. The ability to juggle multiple high priority projects successfully is something very successful leader must learn how to do. As the list of tasks grows, you can agonize or organize. I rather organize. Here's a simple but effective way to classify tasks that can help you quickly prioritize them in any given moment. The goal is to determine how important the task is and how urgent it is. Ineffective leaders jump on the urgent task without thinking. Effective leaders weight both factors for each task and act accordingly. Here is how. High importance and high urgency. These should be tackled first. High importance, low urgency. Set deadlines for completion and fit the task in your daily routine. Low importance, high urgency. Find quick, efficient ways to get these tasks done with minimal personal involvement and time. If possible, delegate them. Low importance, low urgency. If these tasks can be eliminated, then get rid of them. If they can be delegated, then find someone to do them. If you must do them, then schedule a 1-hour block every week to chip away at them, but never schedule during your prime time. Having a strategy for evaluating your daily to-do list by priority is invaluable. After all, a life in which anything goes will ultimately be a life in which nothing goes well. But if you have no solutions for determining priorities other than that, you will still be too reactive instead of proactive as a leader. So what the author John Maxwell says is that he wants to give us some tools that will help us with priorities in the big picture. The tools will be shared on the next audio clip. Till then, thank you.